besides the annoying pop-ups that make you click on them? Okay, 2, 3, 4, okay, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, who here uses Cloudflare for work? A couple people, okay. Who here uses Cloudflare for personal stuff? Another couple people. Cool, awesome. It's awesome working for a company, or at least talking to people that know my company, know what we do. I'm ready to start whenever you guys are.
Yep. Just gave us.
Now, I got a whole bag of these classes for people that answer questions or have questions. So we're going to make this fun and interactive. I know it's late in the day. There's not many people here. I think everybody will get one of these eventually, on the way out maybe. But first come, first serves to people that interact. What's that? I cannot. They're about anonymity for, they're about to hide from, but they also block my site. I can see them this way. Oh, by the QR code, my LinkedIn, I'll share any of the slides with you. I'll collaborate with you. I'll send you the video if you want. Can't find it elsewhere. So grab the QR code, and I'll put it at the end also in case you're not that interested now, but you might be interested at the end. So, my name is Christopher, but I go by Christo because there's so many Chris's in the world, and I wanted to stand out, so I did this. A buddy of mine in college started calling me that, and I built my career being Christo. When I moved to New York City, I'm from California, and I moved to New York City out of college. And first Upper West Side, then Manhattan, Alita, and then Park Slope, and then Williamsburg, Greenpoint. 20 years I spent in New York City, and it's been 6 years since I moved to Northern California. That's where my mom lives. So I'm kind of helping her out, letting the kids have a grandma experience. So I can't wait to move back to New York City. I'm so happy to be here.
All right, Chris.
Yes, cool. So as I was saying, well, first off, let's just start off. Kick it off with Can I go back here in the slides? Let's go. I can't go forward or backward. So I'm missing something. That's forward. Okay, let's go backward a minute. Okay. I started this presentation at BSides San Francisco in April. I hadn't done one of these my own research kind of presentations before. I work at Cloudflare. They have these awesome blog posts all the time, all these new topics, and I grabbed one of the blog posts, ran it through ChatGPT, fed it some abstracts of BSides presentations from the past, and said, give me an abstract so that I can present at BSides. And I did it all the last minute in December, and I got accepted to speak in San Francisco on this topic. And then I read this fine print and realized, oh, wow, I got to actually, I can't talk about Cloudflare too much. I need to focus on the technology and not what we're selling, so I had to go back and do the research. So that's how this kind of talk came about. And the topic, or the theme at BSides San Francisco was There Be Dragons, kind of Game of Thrones style. So I created this with the dragon theme, and then a buddy of mine said, oh, why don't you submit to some more conferences? So I submitted it to HuSecCon, Houston Security Conference. I did that last month, and their theme was Space Cowboys. So, I layered that in. So you guys, I didn't really see a theme here. So we're getting dragons versus Space Cowboys. Space Cowboys are good guys, even though they have a black hat. We're the good guys here, okay? All right, so that's the theme. That's how we're doing this. Again, my name is Christopher. I go by Christo. And New York City is my safe, happy Mecca spot, and I'd love to be here. Walked all around the city last night. Frankly, stayed out till 4 a.m. last night, but I only got a couple hours sleep because I thought I'd be presenting earlier today. So now here I am after some coffee, and I'm glad to be here. So let's get going. Who knows about this topic? 1, 2, 3. Who uses mobile or residential IPs, or have used? Not like to do gray hat stuff. Yeah, gray hat, black hat-ish. Okay. It's super interesting topic to me. So we all use VPNs to hide ourselves, right? Or for work, to hide ourselves, or both. Well, this is the method of hiding but not getting detected. So being able to get away with botnets and gray hat and black hat stuff, and even some white hats do use this too. There's reasons to do it too. But this talk is about these residential and mobile IPs, and they're called proxies because basically you can borrow other people's IPs and proxy your traffic through them, just like a VPN, and get away with things, okay? So what this talk is not about, oh, by the way, first part of this talk is going to be from kind of a gray, black hat point of view, and second half is going to, last quarter is going to be about how to detect and block and what to do about it. But what this not going to be about is, I'm going to talk about Cloudflare, but I'm also going to talk about other ways to do it too. But I'm not going to make any hardcore endorsements, and there are no silver bullets in this game. That's the interesting thing about how to catch this. So if you don't take anything else from this talk, this is the slide. So IP address, I'm going to be calling it IPs in the future, but they're really IP address anonymity. So hiding where you're coming from. We all know we need IP addresses, but you're hiding where you're coming from, and how to make those IP addresses look authentic and not look like you're doing something sketchy. Because when you're a VPN, you look sketchy. You look sketchy to the publisher, to Nike when you're trying to buy the latest sneaker bot there, or to Instagram as you're trying to fuck with their algorithms and pump up your own traffic. So those two things plus sketchy word sketchy could be taken different ways, but plus activity equals money. So Google Slides gave me a great jackpot slide with AAA coming up on the jackpot, for that. So quick story. This is me going to Oaxaca with my 2 kids recently, and on the way to Oaxaca, Mexico. I highly recommend it. I'm happy to talk about the mezcal and the food down there anytime you hit me up later. But on the plane, got to entertain the kids somehow. They can't be on their phones all the time, and they can only play so many card games. So we got the Waldo book. We've all had this as childs, right? So who can find Waldo up here? Pair of glasses. Anybody? No? Okay. How about one of the 10 different dragons that are there hiding? Anybody? Dragons? Oh, okay. Can you catch? There you go. Oh, there you go. You got one too? Okay, well, here's Waldo for those who couldn't find him. Okay, that's not fair. He's hiding just his head. Come on. But that's how these advanced books get, right? Well, there's all the dragons. They're all hiding in plain sight. You didn't see them there, but they were there. That's the concept here. They're how to hide in plain sight. So who uses these things? I mentioned earlier, black, gray, white hats. So the answer is D, all the above. I had this great slide earlier that had purple hats and red hats and all these other blue hats that of all these different types of hackers. So everybody can use these, and they do. So why use them? I hit this before. I'm hitting it again because it's so important. Okay, so you get that idea. Now this is the real kind of where it gets really interesting, I think. All these different use cases. So we talked about sneaker bots. I had somebody come up to me after B-Sides San Francisco and say, hey, look, I got into this Discord group of web scraping, and then they invited me back into the private space. And that's where the real shit goes down, because they run campaigns there where someone will, from maybe, Saudi Arabia, will come and say, hey, I want this new Louis Vuitton Supreme crossover thing, purse or whatever, and I'm willing to pay $10,000 for it. It's going to cost $1,000, but I don't know how to get it in that flash sale. So then those 20 people will all decide who's going to go after it, and they're going to spend their own resources. They're going to rent these IP addresses. They're going to use anti-detect browsers, and they're going to fire up a botnet and go after that sneaker on Nike or this Louis Vuitton Supreme crossover and go after it. And if they get it, they'll ship it to the destination, and they'll make their money that way. So that's one way of doing it. Call it sneaker bots. But you can also do all the AI tools out there are doing this now. I don't mind saying Perplexity is the one that's being really mean, lying about what they're doing right now. With the other, at Cloudflare, we detect bots. We can detect all the AI scrapers. It's a big thing we're doing right now to help the industry, the advertising industry, we're trying to make a marketplace for people that pay for bot traffic, for AI scrapers that pay, to get them to pay for their traffic. But Perplexity is sneaking around that and using this kind of approach with these mobile IPs to get around detection and going from different ASNs. But I found the social media one really interesting. I learned a lot about this with my research from this guy doing OnlyFans, spinning up his OnlyFans account. He knew all about this stuff, and he had no idea about technology. So he was teaching me how these people use these in order to create an OnlyFans account and then to use a bunch of different accounts at the exact same time from the same laptop and come in there and pump it all up and get the algorithms really going. That's how. So I was going to say this earlier. I forgot to mention this. I think that this talk, even though there's not a ton of people here, I think this talk affects everybody at this whole conference more than most of the other talks here, because we're all on the social media and we're all getting affected by these algorithms. Maybe we're not all shopping for sneakers, but this affects us, the way that these things are being used. But on the good side, ad verification. Maybe you want to check to make sure that an ad is getting served in the right geo the right way, that kind of a thing. So there's a lot of different use cases for this. And I also want to make a very clear point that, like our guy in the blue hat back there, that's the gray hat, he's not doing anything illegal. Gray hatting is not illegal, so you can't get caught or busted for this kind of stuff. It happens. So what are these and how do they work? So quick key concepts. I think we all know what an IP address is. It's like a phone number or an address at your house. You got to have, hey, I get microdose mushrooms sent to me from a church in Oakland, but I have to put my real address on it, even if I use a fake name. It's got to come to my house, right? So you need an IP address. You have to have an IP address to get traffic back, and to interact with the website. So that's the one thing that you can't spoof, right? I've been doing this web dev stuff for a long time, and user agents are a joke. Anybody can spoof a user agent or any header. But IP addresses you can't fake, but that's why this whole industry has evolved around these mobile IPs. And then we have network address translation, and then the real interesting one is carrier grade, CGNet. That means how mobile carriers like T-Mobile has even more IP addresses they have to handle with all the devices out there and only so many IPv8 addresses that they have to change the IP address when you go from tower to tower to tower. So so we'll talk about that in a minute, but that's where it gets super interesting. And then you got this anti-detect browsers that get in the mix that help, and then anti-bot vendors like Cloudflare and our competitors in that space. So how it works is user IP address. This is basic flow. Goes to a proxy server like using VPN, and this is like kind of the clean good guy white hat flow. But when you get a gray hat or black hat on, that proxy server can turn into a Trojan horse, to hide who you are, and you become invisible. So all of a sudden, your IP address is private, and the website can't see you any longer. So now we're getting into how does this really work under the hood? All of us have tons of bandwidth at home that we don't use. You can resell that on the market to these middlemen, and you can resell your IP addresses. You have NAT at home. You have, I forget how many addresses it is, someone in here knows, but you have tons of private IP addresses that you could sell to someone else, you rent out. So there is a whole market for you to do that from your house. Somebody could attack you. I have part of the story later on that I think I took the slide out, but a architecture firm got hacked, and this researcher from Akamai, the company I used to work for, found this out. This guy hacked this architectural firm and was using their IP address space to rent out to these providers and making passive income on it. And he closed his back door, and nobody even knew about it. The company that was paying the ISP bill didn't even know this was happening. So you could do it from a residential point of view, and like you should see here, you could scalp. You could aim to scalp ticket. Hit Ticketmaster, Nike, Instagram, the like, right? Well, it gets real interesting from a mobile point of view, like I was saying earlier, because these IP addresses are more authentic. Back to that authenticity word. The residential IPs don't change that often. The mobile IPs change all the time, and that creates this opportunity for them to be way more authentic. So if you start using one IP address to do some sneaker botting, I don't really want to use that same IP address to go back to Nike at the exact same time. But if the IP address changes, then I can use that same service very quickly. And so this whole market has evolved of all these companies. Now, a lot of these companies are legit, actually, because they actually talk about, some of them have been out there for 7 or 8 years and are making hundreds of millions of dollars, but they're not, but they talk about ethically getting a hold of these IP addresses, meaning people voluntarily giving them up. There's a lot of unethical ways too, like Chrome extension might take over your IP address and start using that. Someone's using some, Google Sheet, tool or something like that. So there's ethical and unethical ways to do it, and it's really kind of weird about which ones, where they're getting all their IPs. But there's a lot of reviews around them about what's good and what's bad, and there's also rotating IPs if you want to pay for those, or if you want to pay for ones that are static. It depends on your use case and what that publisher expects from the IP addresses to get to lead you as to which ones you would use. And here I just wanted to call out that, like, as you can see, the mobile ones are the most valuable. So you can see they're the most expensive to rent out. The residential IP is not so much. I mean, there's even data center IPs if you want to use those. I mean, for certain use cases, and they're super cheap, but they don't change that often, so they're good for certain use cases, but not all. And you can pay for site unblocker tools on the side at the same time. So this has created this rise of mobile IP proxy farms. Maybe you guys saw this article in Wired recently. I think it was about a couple weeks ago. That I see some nods in the room. Anyone believe that article? Like, let everyone know what it is. Is they found one of these farms, some warehouse outside of New York City. I don't know where was it, Jersey or somewhere. I don't know, but it had what was it? New York City. It was in New York City. Do you know what borough? It was near the UN, and they said what? And there was like 100,000 of these, right? Different SIM cards, right? And some really fat pipe bandwidth there. Well, the Wire article said that, oh wow, they could DDoS the UN, and like knock out cell phone service as they got attacked by, I don't know, protesters or something like that. I call bullshit on that. All that was a sneaker bot farm. It's a business. They're just selling the IP addresses. It just happened to be here because there's a lot of people here, and they could get away with it and have a lot of fast bandwidth. But look at this one here. This is a school bus. They drive them around in the school bus to make them authentic all the time. They put these so all these are SIM cards connected to fast bandwidth or a cell phone provider. So the old school way of doing it is actually having them all hooked up to Android phones or something like that. But the new way of doing it is like the top middle one is a kit you could buy and run it yourself. I mean, I've been thinking about doing this for my own passive income, So anyway, this is kind of how this stuff works under the hood here. And so this is the proxy jacking one. That's what they call it when you attack someone and take their IP address and they don't even know about it and start using them. So I mentioned the anti-detect browsers. Here's a handful of them, how much they cost per month. But these ones will really focus on hiding your fingerprint. So I'm going to talk a minute about the different type of detection techniques, but these guys specialize in constantly staying above the cat and mouse game and evolving, and so you don't have to worry about doing it yourself. So bringing it all together from a attacking point of view, I guess I'd call it, even though there's white hats in here too. I kind of put some bullet points in there to just kind of mention again how this works, but the diagram over there from our Cloudflare blog is basically an attacker uses these tools, fires up a botnet and does stuff. Typically gray, black hat stuff, but can also do white hat stuff at the same time. But that's kind of the lay of the land there. Okay, so now on to the defenses. Dun, 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 dun. How are you going to stop them? Well, it's going to be really hard doing it yourself. That is an approach. And you could look at, I know I chart here, but Germany, top left is the IP address. You can match that up to the language headers. That's the way to do it. This one is English. It doesn't accept German language, but it's coming from German, so maybe you stop it based on that. Another cool trick I learned was this WebRTC, the second arrow down there. The browser could challenge, the server could challenge the browser for a WebRTC connection and check that IP address to see if it matches the requesting IP address. It's another way to kind of see if that matches. So there's these kind of weird kind of techniques that you could try from a DIY point of view, and yeah, you'll do something. But the next level up is if you're willing to pay for it. These services aren't that expensive. A couple, $50 a month or something like that. This is one of them. I forget what this is called, proxydetect.live. But they're basically using best practices to do the same kind of thing and give you a rating on whether or not, this is me testing from my VPN, so that's why the VPN score is through the roof. But theoretically, quite frankly, I didn't get enough time to actually try doing these things, but that was my next kind of step is seeing if I could trick these tools using these mobile IPs. So the first approach, DIY. Second level of approach is using tools. Third level approach would be using the pros, and it costs a little bit of money, but if your data is important to you and there's money behind it, then it makes sense. So this is back in 2024, Q3. This is the last kind of bot management Forrester Wave report. So as you see, top right is theoretically the better. Cloudflare, my company, obviously we have this massive market presence. Quite frankly, we should have been way up there higher. I'm sure everyone else thinks they should be also, but Datadome and Human, they're great, but they really, Human does a lot of manual detection. See, Cloudflare does so much more than just bots, so that's why it's very, very, and so much easy, user-friendly and more cost-effective. But we really focused more on AI around bots, and this report wasn't ready for that, so I don't know, we got kind of dinged for that. But anyway, point is, these are the pros to think about if you're into that. And how Cloudflare does this. This is the article that I started all this from to kind of, that was my jumping off point for this research. But our approach in brief is, at the top level there, we look at the heuristics. So by that we mean whether we see the IP address in similar, coming from similar requests, from similar geos, from similar types of users, from similar ISP ranges, and the headers and the paths and what the different websites of those IP addresses. We use a lot of machine learning at that level. The second level down, we're looking at behavioral patterns. And then the third layer down is what a lot of you guys raise your hand, you know about Cloudflare, but you don't use Cloudflare, is what we call turnstile. That's this thing here. I'm sure you guys have seen it a ton. It's free to use. You can, if you wanted to pay for us to use it, you could put your own branding on it. But usually it's like this, or it's only a check. We effing hate CAPTCHAs. We put out this post talking about how many years, millions of years, we've all spent solving CAPTCHA, finding the crosswalks and the sushis and the motorcycles and shit. And you don't even know if it's a real, does the tire count or not? Does the pedal count on the bicycle or not? So we say no CAPTCHAs. It's just this kind of thing. This does a lot of tests in the browser. And so if you are doing a checkout flow or a sign-in flow, we recommend using this kind of a thing. You don't even have to be using Cloudflare to deliver your content. You can take the JavaScript. Here's how it works. You can take the JavaScript code. It's a click of a button if you're using Cloudflare to deliver your traffic. But if you're not, you can just still log into Cloudflare, create an account, grab the JavaScript, put it on your page, and then we will, when the page loads, run off through an iframe to our side, come back with the token, and then that token has to be available to go to do the login or the checkout kind of a thing, right? So that's all happens on our platform. And then as an admin, you can log into Cloudflare and see the results and look at the success rates and understand it better and be more aggressive if you want to. So, last slide. Key takeaways. These things are super sneaky. They are, if there's money to be had, they're going to keep evolving and winning the cat and mouse race. They are not, doing this stuff is typically not illegal. I mean, quite frankly, even, doing black hat stuff isn't illegal if you don't get caught. And even a lot of the black hat stuff wouldn't necessarily be illegal. So you're not going to get busted if someone else is using your IP addresses. Nike's not going to call you up if you rented out your mobile phone IP addresses when you're not using it and your bandwidth and come after you. It just doesn't work that way. So this is definitely a solid industry. People are doing this all the time. It's always going to be a game of cat and mouse. So it's if your data is important and your user traffic is important to you, and then it kind of makes sense to pony up the money to pay for one of the leading providers to help you with that. And my wife has only one tattoo she got recently, and it's on her arm, and it says progress on the top with a line, and then perfection below. So, progress over perfection, I think, is the name of the game in this pursuit. All right, we've got a couple minutes for questions. About 1 minute or so. All right, let's go.
So you spoke a lot.
Louder.
Sorry, you were talking a lot in your presentation about some of these delivering content. But from the perspective of a defender, how would you suggest someone implements scalable proxy detection just based off of I'm not sure if you also threat intelligence or anything along those.
So from the point of view of a protector, how do I recommend somebody applies?
Robust detection mechanisms. Because if you see someone coming from say you do a PSM,
Huh?
they're coming from AT&T, right? You're gonna
Right.
use that traffic as expected for a user. But that could actually be part of the residential proxies security
So you're saying like, so say a bad person is coming from, looks like a residential IP address. What do you do about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I would recommend trying to use Turnstile to stop automated traffic. If they're, yeah.
Sorry, I'm talking from like the perspective of detection engineer ingesting logs from.
So it's your slide of the equation. So it's going to be 1 plus 1 plus 1 equals 1.
I couldn't hear that.
It's your money slide. That's the
Yeah?
solution. So yeah. It's this.
You mean the jackpot one?
Yeah. Yeah, right there. There you go.
Right, yeah, so that's like the scenario I'm talking about, right? Because from the perspective of a like detection engineer at a company, you'll see like a user account get hacked, but say the threat actor was using residential proxy. It's hard to make those distinctions in the user's baseline activity if they're using like an anonymous proxy.
Yeah, it's very hard. Yeah, I mean, it's tricky. I think what you're saying is like if someone took over my Gmail account and it looked like I was coming from, I don't know, Brooklyn and what do you do about, is there anything you can do about that? Well, I don't know all the details of the story or the scenario, but what I'm saying is like it's good to stop automated traffic with this kind of an approach. But if they're human traffic or a bot or a human farm doing the traffic, it's a lot harder to solve because they can solve the CAPTCHA just as easily, not CAPTCHA, but the turnstile just as easy as anyone else. It's a tricky, hard problem to solve. Yeah, I mean, I think it's maybe forensics, just digging into the logs and behavioral analysis to what they're doing. Yeah. Quick, last question. Do I have time?
Just one more.
Quick one. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I'm noticing an uptick in hardware-based VPN devices that facilitate residential content.
So I heard hardware-based.
Hardware, they're essentially like mobile routers that you see people go overseas with, and it almost never leaves the IP address. The geolocation looks like they're in Florida when they're really in, right?
Okay.
Not software-based. It's really hard to detect. So like one of the good ways is the geolocation, right? Like possible travelers. But that goes out the door with that. I'm gonna check the WebRTC thing, but I don't know. I'm having a tough time proving this case that the person isn't where they're located.
Yeah, I don't have a solution for that. Frankly, it's tricky. It's tough, man. It's cat and mouse, man. The cat's winning in that case. Hit me up offline or outside here, and let's talk about some more. All right, come on out and get some glasses, guys. I'll put them over here.